Arrogance isn't confidence. Arrogance is pride mixed with ignorance. That's not what I'm talking about here. What I'm talking about is something very different. I'm talking about being able to look at yourself honestly and say, I've failed at some things. I've succeeded at other things. I've broken things and I've built things. I've made mistakes, but I've also tried. And after all of that, I still like who I am. I give myself grace. The real question is, how many people can truly say that? How many people can say, I like me? Most people will give more patience, more compassion, more care, and more love to someone else than they ever give to themselves. There's actually a statistic that proves this. On average, the likelihood that a person will finish a full course of antibiotics for themselves is about 50%, but the likelihood that they will finish the course for their dog is around 95%. Think about that. We are nearly twice as capable of caring for a pet as we are of caring for ourselves, even though if we're gone, no one is left to take care of the pet. That tells you something deeply important about human nature. Serving others is important, but you can't serve anyone properly if your own cup is empty. You need to serve from overflow. And one of the most important skills you can ever develop is learning how to like yourself. A simple way to start is this. Think about someone you genuinely like, not someone you admire from a distance, but someone you truly enjoy being around. Ask yourself what it is about them that you like. Maybe they're patient. Maybe they're kind. Maybe they're disciplined, honest, hardworking, or thoughtful. Whatever those qualities are, identify them clearly. Then ask yourself a simple question. If that's what I like in them, why wouldn't I want to build those same qualities into myself? You don't magically wake up liking yourself. You become someone you respect. And when you become someone you respect, liking yourself comes naturally. Over time, if you do that consistently, something powerful happens. You reach a point where if someone meets you and they don't like you, you don't fall apart. You don't need their approval. You don't need to chase validation. You don't need to perform. Because you like yourself, and that's enough. I learned this lesson toward the end of my 20s. From the outside, my life looked successful by modern standards. A freedom, status, money, recognition, and attention. And yes, it was fun. I don't regret it. But at a certain point, I realized something was wrong. I didn't like myself very much anymore. I hadn't done anything terrible, but I felt like I was meant for something different, something deeper, something more aligned. I felt like I was betraying myself in small ways every day. I wasn't keeping promises to myself. If I said I would wake up early, I hit the snooze button 3 times. If I said I would eat well, I negotiated with myself. If I said I'd go to the gym, I'd half commit. And those tiny decisions mattered more than I realized. Because how can you trust yourself to build a meaningful life when you can't trust yourself to do the small things you promised you would do? You are built by the small decisions you make every single day, not the big declarations, not the dramatic moments, the tiny, boring, repeated choices. Eventually, I reached a point where I didn't like the person I was becoming. I was angry, reactive, tense, and constantly on edge, and I had to be honest with myself. Anger wasn't fixing anything. It wasn't productive. It wasn't helping my relationships. It was destroying my peace and leading me to make worse decisions. So I made a choice. I couldn't keep living like that. I asked myself what was causing this anger, and slowly, over time, I started removing those things from my life. It wasn't instant. It wasn't dramatic. But little by little, I got my perspective back. Think about it this way. Imagine you have a friend who constantly breaks promises. Every time you invite them to lunch, they show up an hour late or don't show up at all. At first, you're patient, then you're frustrated. Eventually, you stop inviting them. You stop trusting them. Now, here's the hard truth. Most people are that friend to themselves. And when you stop trusting yourself, everything else in your life becomes unstable. People often say they want to be liked, or they struggle socially, or they want better relationships. But here's something most people miss. People don't like you because you're impressive. They like you because you make them feel good. They feel safe around you. They feel understood. They feel energized. Hustle culture misses this completely. I don't agree with the extreme version of hustle culture that's being pushed right now, especially toward young men. I think it's out of balance. Young men need to know it's okay to sit down. It's okay to think. It's okay to be still. If all you do is lift weights, grind nonstop, work all day, stare at screens, and never reflect, you're not growing. You're just consuming and reacting. At the same time, I understand why the pendulum swung in that direction. There was a generation of young men who weren't taught discipline, responsibility, or work ethic. So the response was to push hard in the opposite direction. But balance matters. A strong man knows how to work hard and how to rest. He knows how to push and how to pause. He can build and he can sit quietly by a fire and think. If you want everything, life will give you nothing. Everything has a cost. And most people struggle because they want the reward without paying the price. They want success without sacrifice. They want happiness without responsibility. They want the benefits of a path without the downsides. And that's not how life works. People talk about deathbed regrets all the time, but most of those regrets are biased. People imagine the life they didn't live without accounting for the cost of that life. They say, I'd give everything up to have my family, but they didn't make that choice when it mattered. What they're really saying is that they want everything, and everyone wants everything. Life is a series of trades. We trade our 20s for our 30s for our 40s for our 50s. And then we trade everything we built to try to get our youth back. We give up what we have the most of for what we have the least of. We sacrifice happiness today for the idea of happiness tomorrow. So many people tell themselves, once I succeed, then I'll be happy. And they sacrifice their joy chasing success, hoping it will bring happiness later. But it doesn't work that way. When you look back, you realize that you hated your 20s while you were in them. You were anxious, uncertain, insecure, broke, and desperate for validation. But later, you romanticize that time because uncertainty fades and memory keeps the highlights. We don't live life as it is. We live life as we remember it, and memory always edits out the pain. That can be hopeful, but it becomes dangerous when you constantly lament the present, which is the only thing you actually experience. Where does your attention go? The past, the present, or the future? Most achievers live in the future. Most unhappy people live in the past. But joy only exists in the present. You can't change the past. You can't fully control the future, but you can control your focus, the meaning you assign to things, and the actions you take. There are two worlds, the external world and the internal world. You can influence the external world, but you can control the internal one. When you control your focus, your meaning, and your actions, anxiety begins to lose its grip, especially when you're serving something bigger than yourself. If you want self-esteem, don't chase compliments. Do something worthwhile. Self-esteem isn't given, it's earned. It comes from doing hard things that matter. Not posting about them, not telling people, but knowing deep down that you did what you said you would do. Look at someone like Steph Curry. People see the highlight reels, the deep shots, the confidence. What they don't see are the millions of shots he's taken in private, 500 shots a day, 7 days a week, for over 15 years. He's rewarded in public for what he practiced in private. I believe life happens for us, not to us, but it's our responsibility to find the meaning. You'll fight internal battles and external ones. And if you keep going, you'll face your dragons. And when you overcome them, you'll have something real to share, not something you read, something you lived. Self-esteem isn't about being easy on yourself. It's about being honest with yourself and celebrating progress. The secret isn't obsessing over yourself. The secret is finding something you care about more than yourself. When you do that, your energy changes. Your motivation shifts from push to pull. Push motivation is driven by fear, anger, and proving something. It works for a while, but it burns out. Pull motivation comes from purpose, from service, from obsession with something meaningful. And that energy doesn't run out the same way. Where focus goes, energy flows. We don't experience life as it is. We experience the part of life we focus on. What's wrong is always available, so is what's right. This isn't about being positive. It's about being intelligent with your attention. Spiritual growth isn't about being perfect. It's about being comfortable being yourself, accepting who you are while still working to improve. When you stop pretending, you lose fear, you gain peace. Confidence without competence is delusion. Freedom is impossible if you play the victim. Hard experiences shape us even when they hurt. Over time, you realize the same events that wounded you also strengthened you. And learning to hold both truths at once is part of maturity. There is no business, no money, no success worth losing yourself for. It takes years to become someone you actually like. And once you do, you protect that at all costs. The person you talk to most in life is yourself. Don't lose respect for that relationship. Sometimes progress itself is winning. Some seasons aren't about growth, they're about stability. Winning the day matters. A single good moment can make a day meaningful. Enough good days create a good year. Most of life is the middle. The boring, lonely, uncertain part. That's where growth happens. People cheer at the start and the finish, but the work happens when no one's watching. People will doubt you, and they'll usually be right until they're not. But one win can outweigh 1,000 losses. The upside is uncapped if you're willing to take the risk. If everything eventually becomes irrelevant, the greatest skill you can develop is being in a good mood without a reason. If you can be in a bad mood for no reason, you can choose a good one too. Life doesn't need to be perfect to be meaningful. Small moments matter. Happiness doesn't need permission. And the goal isn't to become someone else. It's to become someone you like.